stopped, and you're like, this sounds like shit. I'm just going to press stop and then tell everyone I'm going to press record, right?
Oh, this is gold. So, hey, guys, if you're hearing us for the first time and we're laughing, is because you can tell we're rookies at this. Hey, I'll take the blame. I forgot to press record. So here we are, take two, recording this. Hopefully from the start, we've got the checking, recording. Awesome. Hey, guys, welcome to Dad Bods, Dad Boss. And, this is the first ever episode, and it's just three men, but more specific, three friends jumping on here to have a chat about fatherhood, raising kids, and running a business as well. And the reason why we decided to jump on here and to do this is because we chat regularly ourselves. We're there for each other. We share, we support each other. We share insights into not just work, into health, but also business. But we're all parents, and we've been sharing what we know about parenting as well in this day and age. And we just thought we'd share our real, honest, genuine conversations with you guys out there as well, because, there's lots of little nuggets that we do come across and we do share with each other. And, if one person grabs something and take it home and be a better father, be a better dad, then that's awesome. Right. So just quickly, I'll introduce the two other amigos, but I'm Quang, but the whole world calls me Q. So from here on out, I'll be referring to myself as Q, and I'll get into more detail about myself afterwards, but I'll let David to take a share of the microphone now as well.
Thanks, Mr. Q, for get the ball rolling. My name is Eric the German, how some call me. And really great to be here. We have our meetings now since, I guess, 2 years or so. We're catching up really regularly, nearly every week or every 2 weeks. And I'm from Sydney. I got a 2-year-old. Sophia just turned 2-year-old 2 weeks ago or so. So I'm a dad, like all of us here. Maybe I have the youngest child. Yeah, I know Shane has just a newborn, but you got some older kids as well. Yeah, but just relatively new on this father journey here. And running a business as well. So I'm a mindset coach for parents, also running some boot camps and personal training. So I'm basically helping parents to take control of their bodies and minds. So, and obviously that's something what we realized a lot of people need, a lot of dads need, and that's why we're here. And I guess my intention, or I guess our intention, is to really give hope to parents, because it's a bit of a crazy times that you're living in over the last years here. That's me, Mr. Shane.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Eric. And just so everyone knows, there is a running joke between Eric and us, and it's all about stroking his beard, because he's got a magnificent beard, right? It's magnificent. It's glorious.
It's his main feature, right? It's the way we pick him out in the crowd. Where's that 6'4" German fellow with the awesome beard? Guys, I'm Shane. So yeah, born and raised in New Zealand, actually currently living in Sydney as well, but born and raised on a farm. So, first 40 years of my life, outside of 6 years in the New Zealand Army, straight out of high school, I was living, breathing, doing everything on a farm. And just really, that was me. That was my whole life. And now I've moved, like I said, moved to Sydney, and I'm a mindset coach for coaches, actually. So just transitioned into the coaching space of coaching coaches earlier this year, but was coaching farmers for about 3 years prior to that, all on mindset stuff, which really for me is how can I shift the perspective of the way we see the world, because whatever we've got going on in life, whether it's a good or a bad thing, it's our perception that is that. So if it's a bad thing or something that we're struggling with or challenged with, then I like to just better shift the perspective to be able to change that so we can turn any situation into something that can serve us. So that's a very brief background of where I'm at. I do have about 3 kids now, so I've got he's 21, 20, 2 boys, 21 and 20. And then another young man just born the other day, 7 weeks ago, Ezra, who is now 7 weeks old. Yeah. So really, I'm learning a lot. I'm learning a lot the second time around and paying more attention and just aware of great reminders of those things that I experienced 20 years ago and now how to re-experience it. And definitely want to be a different type of father than I was the first time around. So really looking forward to chatting here. The thing that really is, I guess, lights me up about this is there's going to be a lot of conversation just about having a conversation. It's not like, hey, let's come to this podcast just to learn, or let's go to this seminar just to sit down and learn and take notes. The reason this came about, I guess, was quite off the back of Quang's idea was, hey, we just sit here and talk a lot. And there's a lot of value in it. So why not record it and offer it to everyone else? And it's a really cool thing. And I actually remember that first time I come up to your place, Quang and Terrigal, and we sat there for probably 3 hours just at a cafe thing. And we spoke nothing about business. We got to know each other on a personal level, but there was still great value in doing that. And then it's the same with Eric when we catch up to him with the PT sessions. Like, we barely talk about business. It's more about life. And there's so many lessons in life rather than just business. So great opportunity to tie all of those together, and really looking forward to that.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, and you know, I think one of the reasons why we have such great conversations is because and not to say, you know, we wouldn't have great conversations with like other people, but we all have diverse backgrounds, right? We all, like, we've all come to Australia, you know, off the back of, you know, our original, you know, ancestry. You know, like, you know, Eric's mentioned he's German, Shane's, you know, originally from the, you know, sheep land down there. And, you know, like for myself, you know, my parents fled the Vietnam War at the back end of the, you know, 80s. No, not 80s. I was born in the 80s, back of the 70s. You know, and I was born in a refugee camp and fortunate enough to be, you know, granted asylum here when I was 10 months old. So, you know, we all have our diverse, you know, backgrounds and our diverse heritages, but also now, you know, our cultural experiences are really diverse because we all live in different parts of Sydney. We all have different, we have partners of different ethnicity and trying to somehow impart our cultural experiences while also integrating into Australia as well. So, yeah, we always have so much to talk about, and especially parenthood, you know, because one of the reasons why, you know, I wanted to bring this and put it to light for everyone is because a lot of the podcasts out there on fatherhood or parenthood are generally American or UK based, not many here in Australia. And, you know, like it or not, like, Australia does have a different demographic to the rest of the world, has a different cultural experience to the rest of the world. And, you know, one of the things that's in Australia's favor is the multiculturalism that we experience, you know. So we want to share those experiences with you. No BS, no fluff, all real, 100% genuine, 100% authentic. So, you know, to start off this particular, you know, conversation is, has fatherhood really changed or evolved since the times of our parents and perhaps even the times of our grandparents? And so, you know, let's put that out there. Like, love to know what you guys define as fatherhood, you know, and who did you, I guess, if you did get a parenting style or a fathering style, who did you get that? Or who's been the biggest inspiration in you being the dad that you are today, guys?
Yeah, I think very timely. Father's Day was yesterday here in Australia. I guess most of our listeners are in Australia. The Father's Day was yesterday, and I done a post on Facebook about that, how fatherhood for me, or becoming a dad, is really the most important role that I have, next to running the business, next to being a husband, next to being a son, next to doing all of these other roles that we all have. And as I said, 2 years old baby. And in the post yesterday, I was reflecting on my childhood, my relationship with my dad. So I was raised by a single mom. So we left dad when I was 6 years old or so relatively young. So he was never really present in my life. And I had my grandfather I spent a lot of time with. But then reflecting, now I'm 34, reflecting on the last 20 years, I think my searching was for positive role models always. Yeah. So I had always strong females in my life, you know. My mom, like most of my members are female, yeah. So but I think what I also get from our conversations that we have here over the last years is, having you guys as role models and surrounding myself by other dads who have similar values and really want to be the best version of themselves. And maybe to tie it up, it's all about being the best version that I can be. Is something that I figured what I think a good father is, or a good dad is somebody who is living by example. Somebody who is not just talking and yelling on the side of the sports field, but someone who is actually also who is also fit in that example, right? That not just telling your child what to do, but actually really living it. That's what I would say what fatherhood means to me, and what is my striving, what I'm striving for.
Yeah, that's awesome, Eric. And I just jumped in, Shane, so I know you got something there. I just wanted to ask, hey, Eric, because you said, you mentioned that your father, wasn't present early on, and you were searching for role models, right? Were you seeking in particular for like a male role model?
I think so. I mean, it got really, when I got into the personal development space and coaching space, that I was getting aware about these gaps, maybe, that I wanted to have like this, male or masculine role models, because I never really maybe had this experience like other kids, maybe, you're doing certain stuff with your dad, because it's different than doing stuff with your mom, or, with like female influences. So I think, especially over the last, 5 to 10 years, but also since Sophia was born 2 years ago, like really looking, okay, what does it actually mean to be a great father? And then defining that for myself.
What do you, just on the back of that, mate, like I was just thinking, like, what do you think you were looking for, knowing now what you know now? What were you looking for like 20 years ago when you were looking for that male role model? Because I'd imagine there's a lot of people out there that don't have a father and probably feel lost by themselves, but don't really know what they're looking for. So, like, what would be your advice to someone who is either never had a dad or lost a dad, or searching for that male role model? What do you think, like, as maybe a teenager or something, what do you think is the best advice for them to really look for?
Yeah, great question. I think it all comes down to this personal development work, or this working on yourself, like really discovering what you want, what you need in life. And then if that comes up, if that's the gap, then really surrounding yourself by these role models, which you can do through a lot of different things. So like sports, for example, if you're younger, and I guess if you're getting older, joining different groups, either through like school, or like we are all part of the same mastermind for like coaches, and like looking for these people that we aspire to be, looking for somebody who is already a bit further ahead, or someone where I say, okay, that's like this person that I aspire. Maybe this person has this thing or this character trait that I want to have as well. And this was my journey over the last years, and it is still the journey.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I just share just quickly, because you guys know, but for those who don't, I used to be like an educator, right? And so I used to be an assistant principal, and one of the things they would always do, kind of sucks for me a little bit, but would always put me on the most challenging classes, right? Because the kids in those classes generally lacked a male role model figure at home, and so from my experience there, what would happen is I would then be able to, after the initial challenging period, I was able to forge strong connections, and for some reason my words would have more weight, and so the challenging classes weren't really challenging anymore, because they knew how to kind of like behave, because there was someone there to demonstrate that to them. So, man, that's just thought I shared that, because like it came to my head as you were sharing your story, and like it or not, especially in education where kids spend most of the time, it's predominantly a female, workforce, and for those kids who are lacking that male role model at home, that chances are they're not going to get it at school as well. So yeah, you have to be proactive in some sense, right?
I think it's a great point around the role model, and it kind of like it makes me think about like what's my purpose or my outcome of being a father is to, like you said, Eric, like be a really great role model and to give them the ability to have or to create and find opportunities rather than being stuck in that this is the way it is. And we talked about the different culture and the different upbringings that we've had, like, and Quang, your question around like difference between my grandfather and my father's like parenting style or when they were growing up is back when, you know, Papa and Granddad were kids, they were just, as soon as they were old enough to walk, they were pretty much working on the farm where they were brought up. And then that evolved into Dad as well. And I feel like maybe in those times, it was like, this was the only thing I can do. And even growing up for myself, like I kind of only felt like when I was at school, I remember thinking, well, I only really know how to farm. I didn't even really know how to farm. But I was started, you know, pretty labor intensive work from a young age too, from sort of 13 years old. But it just sort of felt like that was all I knew. And by even branching out and going to the army straight away, it was a big step outside of the norm of what everyone that was brought up in my environment would do. My other three brothers, they all went farming pretty much straight away. But I guess so, yeah, it's, for me, it's really giving, especially Ezra now, the next generation, the opportunity to know how to take opportunities. Because I know that from, the first two, Cody and Hamish, 20 and 21 years old now, I was definitely a different father than what I'm going to be this time around. And then even like with Eric, like not having a father, I feel like maybe my older boys felt like they didn't have a father because I had other priorities. I was out partying, I was out rodeo and rugby and all that in the weekends. And quite often I might have been home most of the time, but I wasn't present as well. So it's really unraveling for me. It's unraveling what I did then and how can I be a better father this time around. So interesting perspective to look at it through all the different things, right?
Yeah, most definitely. And like my dad, well, one left his country when it was like still a teenager, right? So he fled the war, back end of the war. So all he knew was like work, make an income. So then when we came to Australia, it was the drive to provide, to make sure we were fed, we had enough food, the push to take up better opportunities, or take the opportunities that came our way, because there are things he wasn't afforded back in Vietnam. Like he didn't go to school, he didn't have the opportunity to make the income that he did, here, despite it being minimal, in his eyes, it was still more than back in Vietnam, right? So his drive was, his big thing was to push to study, to work, to help the family, blah, 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 right? And so I guess the thing that was lacking was how to be a parent, how to be a dad, because it wasn't a priority, it wasn't a focus. So then naturally, our childhood was about work and study. And so that kind of formed my basis of, one, I know how not to be, because back then, all I wanted was for my parents to be around, right? To spend the time with them. But also, it also made me not sweat the things too much, because we live in a country of abundance. And, the thing that kind of stood out is my mum said to me, like, hey, we may be poor, but we're not going to like starve like you would in Vietnam. So that kind of made me have this more kind of chilled, laid back approach to life. And because the one thing my sister asked Carly a couple of years ago is, how does he know to be a dad? And for me, it was like, I know what not to do, but I'm still figuring out what to do as well. So I guess my fatherhood kind of approach comes to a real collaboration effort with Carly. She's put in the real effort to, learn about the kids and what they are doing at this age, developmentally, physically, mentally, all that kind of stuff. And, working out like the best practices, to communicate and to instill into our kids at this age. So my fatherhood style is driven by her, and I still get caught up in the old way of like, not being able to articulate my emotions. I want my kids to do that. I can't do that really well, I'll be honest. I'm still stubborn ass. I still have that high men are always right kind of mentality, which is slowly breaking down. And I still get caught up in those moments. But the thing that's kind of like breaking down those barriers or helping me reduce those moments so that they're less frequent is just the open conversations that I have with Carly around parenting in particular. Yeah.
Yes, so true. Something comes to my mind when you say that. Like one of the main principles in coaching is that you either win or you get the outcome or you get a lesson. So I guess the same is in parenting, that there are not really mistakes. You're figuring it out. And I think what you described, Mr. Q, about the awareness and like knowing what not to do, which comes from an awareness about the past. I think it's a smart thing to do, to that looking like at our childhood and how our parents done it, and then taking the good things and maybe do the things that weren't that great, do them differently, and then finding our own style. I think that's the best approach that I also try to do, and like failing forward, like the good old saying, so you make your mistakes and you're not perfect. And I think that hopefully we can steer with this conversation as well. It's not about being perfect and being the perfect parent, but just trying your best and not giving up on yourself.
Most definitely. I saw your lips going there, Mr. Bird. Were you about to jump in?
I know. I'm going to say, like, I like that word evolving. Like, it doesn't have to be the way that it was. And even to be the second time around 20 years later, like, I can evolve a lot from what it was like when my first were born in the early 2000s to now. So that's what I think that's those lessons like you mentioned, Eric, is just because it was done a certain way doesn't mean it's the right way, but there's lessons in that experience that we've had. And in like, again, to think what you said, Quang, is like, I know what I don't want to do, so I'm just going to learn what I do want to do. And just through conversation, I think the collaboration, you use the word there, collaboration with Carly is really important, because Jade's the same. She'll tell me even now, like, he's 5 weeks old, he's going to do this. He's 6 weeks old, he's going to do this. So she's doing the research, and I'm like, cool, just give me the info, and then I'll just do what I can do to help support the little fella and Jade in that situation, so that we can, keep moving without the struggle as such, without too much of a struggle. Because I mean, there's going to be a struggle, isn't there, with our kids, but without it becoming too overwhelming, or there being a disconnection and not knowing what we're doing. Like, you do it this way, I do it that way, then we're trying to raise them in two different lanes, and it's going to be too hard. So it's the collaboration, like you say, bring it all together. And I'm more than happy for Jade to do the research and just guide me, because I'm open to new possibility.
Yeah, 100%. And so we were to like, wrap up, everything we've shared just then, guys. Like, what's kind of like I don't know, it's tricky, but hey, let's do our best. If there's one kind of key thing that we could pass on, what would that be for both of you guys?
I would say it always starts with us, right? It's so easy to point fingers and looking what our kids didn't do right or our partner didn't do right. I think like really, looking at ourselves first and seeing what can we improve, or how can we change our perspective around things, right? How can we live at course and then change things? I think that's always where it starts.
Yeah, definitely like that. Like, I like the idea of being open to the possibility of doing something different. Like, just because it was done a certain way or I was raised a certain way doesn't mean I'm right. So it doesn't have to be my way. It's like, what's the best way? Not how can I get it my way? How can we do this the best way? Would be the best thing to take away from today.
Yeah, most definitely. And for me, like, there's like, we all know, right? Parenting's bloody hard, right? It's so bloody hard. And so I heard a thing like many moons ago that kind of stuck with me. So they said, if you're parenting and it's easy, then something's gone awry. parenting is meant to be hard. So because it's hard to instill values. It's hard to, be patient while they're having a meltdown. It's hard to deflect your ego, and put the kids' needs first. It's easy to put them on an iPad to shut them up, right? It's easy just to yell at them, and take it out on them. So for me, just a reminder, like when things are hard, it means we're doing something all right. It means we're on the right path because they're gonna, have something decent or something, worthwhile installed in them by taking this path. Cool. That's great.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's that, like, do the hard now for an easy life later. Do the easy now and have a hard life later. You could say that with the kids, like, do the hard stuff now so you have an easier or better connection with your kids later on, or, sacrifice those things and do the easy stuff now and then suffer later on down the path when they're older. So I think it's a great analogy that parenting isn't going to be easy. So.
Oh, mate, sure it is. And, one of the things that's kind of having an impact on perspective of parenting is social media, right? So social media, whether we like it or not, it's in our world. It's here to stay. It doesn't matter what platform it is. I think people on multiple platforms, right? And I really want to bring this up because we talked about role models, okay? And so social media is a place or a platform where people go to seek some role models and some information on parenting, especially fatherhood. But, I want to bring this up to have this conversation around it. Can your reputation also be tarnished as a father, on social media? And if it does, is it recoverable? Are you able to, bring it back? And, this kind of prompted me because yesterday here in Australia was Father's Day. And, this is close to home. One of my sisters put up on social media a post about how, Father's Day kind of triggered her or reminded her that she grew up, or she became aware that she grew up in a home of domestic violence. So she was pinpointing some key things that, triggered her fear, right? And so that kind of, and I had a text exchange with her to share my thoughts. And she was like, I just want to speak the truth unapologetically. Yeah. And so in the back of my mind is like, hey, my dad did the best he can with the tools that he had. I felt like he got thrown under the bus because she just pinpointed all the things that, all the negative behaviors. She said like she was grateful for the lessons, but didn't pinpoint any specifics around that. So all that was the image that was painted was that of this person who had these negative traits or demonstrating these negative behaviors. And is it an overshare? Like, I'd love to get your perspective, guys. Is this an overshare? And, is this something that can be recovered, like reputation wise?
Perspective. It's all perspective, really. Like we talk about, if we're going to give a perspective on someone's reputation, it's because of the information that we've been given and how we've processed that information. So if I was to read that post, I could have the perception that, they had a bad reputation, but yet that post in itself is just a perception from that person. And so they're putting out their perspective, and then someone else reads it and has a perspective of their perspective. And a perspective is just a made up thought process. So really, we then base an opinion on two made up thought things. So how true is it? Like, what's the actual truth? So what I'd be most looking for is like, that's my perception on that information, but is that information actually accurate, or is there more to the story? Unfortunately, with social media, people just read something, it's true, it must be true, it's on social media, right? And this is probably the biggest thing I find with social media now is kids especially are exposed to so much more information that they don't even know what to process or what to think or how to react and be in the world. And like that's where the influence comes on. Normally we were just influenced by our parents because we didn't have social media, we didn't have Facebook or Instagram. It was just what we experienced in the home and at school pretty much. But now we're influenced from people, especially kids from all over the world, that they don't even know where they sit. They don't know what their values are because they're exposed to so many different values. They don't even know how to have core values or anything like that, because the world is just putting a perception out there and it's so confusing. So to come back to that reputation thing is, can it be recovered? Well, it can be if the person reading it or the person doing the judging is open to the opportunity of something different. Because if they're not, then they won't. They'll just label that person. And if they're staunch enough in their own opinions, they'll label that person and always look at that person through that lens, and they'll find more ways to confirm that it's true, the confirmation bias. As soon as we label someone, we're like, okay, I'm going to find more things unconsciously to confirm that it's true. So if I met Eric on the street and I went, oh, he's a mean person, I would immediately be unconsciously looking for ways to confirm that it's true. Where if I met him on the street, he's the nicest person I know, I'd be doing the same thing to confirm that. So for me, it's like, be very aware of the perceptions that we take in and the perception we put out, because that is going to produce those labels, which we're then going to go ahead and reinforce.
Yeah, so much more kind of in depth, right? And this is kind of like, it's great that we're having this conversation because it's a depth of on face value. Most people just see things at face value without actually understanding what's behind it, or how do you perceive information or take in the information.
Something what I would add for that one, from personal experience, or like from my situation, like I said, we left Dad when I was 6 years old, and I didn't have that deep relationship with him, and he certainly didn't show up as the best father in my judgment. But I actually think that because of that, I'm now striving to be the best father I can be. And I'm really grateful for that. So because he wasn't a great father, that motivates me and inspires me to be a great father. If it wouldn't happen, then I wouldn't have to focus on it. So I'm actually very grateful that it all happened like this, and now doing it for myself, and then also teaching this to other dads.
Yeah, cool, mate. Like, and the last question asked there, like, is, you know, what do you deem is there such thing as oversharing? Like, you know, we like, just to hear from your perspective, like, is that something that, you know, needs to be put out there, or, you know, is it okay for someone to, you know, just tarnish someone else's, people's perspective of them? Can you speak down of someone or paint a negative picture without their knowledge? Because this is kind of like the complexities of social media, right?
100%. I think definitely what then Shane said about it, you know, that it's about the person's own perspective on it. And maybe touching on what I said before about, you know, it's either something good or something, a lesson in it. So I guess, you know, like if I would coach your sister on that, or would have a conversation with her, I would ask her, you know, yes, I get it, but then what's the positive lesson for you that you got out of that? And if you share this in the same time, then I think it's you know, it can still be a positive thing, because we're always learning and evolving from our past, and maybe changing our own first perspective on it, and then the whole situation changes. So I think it's really hard if somebody just sees a post, just to answer your question, yeah, it's like, okay, that's just a post and it sounds really negative and could be true, but is it really the whole story of it? I'm sure.
I reckon it's can you overshare? I reckon it's an overshare from an undershare, because it's overshared one perspective, but it's undershared the other perspective. So can you overshare? Only when you undershare, and you don't share the whole story, like the whole thing. You know, like, hey, I'm grateful, you know, all of this terrible shit happened, but I'm grateful for it. But what is all the grateful stuff that we have, you know, that we're grateful for? Why not share that as well? And if it was 50-50, then fine. But if it's at 90% all the terrible stuff with the 10% cool stuff, then that would be an overshare. because it's an undershare.
Yeah, we need to fill out the whole equation, don't we? So yeah, no, mate, very, very valuable insights there. Eric, you gonna jump in? All good? You tell me.
Yeah, this other thing what I heard somewhere about social media, there's so much noise there, and I think also important to remember that people see so many things every day, not sure how many different stories people see, and then maybe the question is as well, how much is it getting through to people as well? There's so much noise down there, people not sure how many hours are people on like average on the phone. So maybe that's, from the severity of the situation, maybe if there would be a post every day about that, it would really get through, but it's just one story. So it might just, go under the carpet somewhere.
Just fly by. Yeah, no, valid points. Hey, really, really great conversation, guys. We're going to end on this note, and I'll do the whole recap thing, but hey, best gift from Father's Day.
Well, just sitting on the couch cuddling, mate.
I love it.
I got a really special one. I done some work in the morning before the girls got up, and I got a message from Tip. I told her, hey, text me once you're up, and she sent Happy Father's Day, and she said some really nice words about this kind of father I am and how I show up, and that I always try my best, and was a really, really special message. And my love language, not sure if some of you are aware about the 5 love languages. My dominant love language is words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
So, and getting this text message in the morning, really made me very emotional. I was sitting in a cafe, I was reading the message. I just couldn't stop, couldn't hold the tears. So it was a very emotional moment and very special start in the day. And then we had our brunch together and other family things. So it's very special as well. But I think this message and really the acknowledgement from your partner to like really see that, that I'm trying the best I can.
Yeah, that's cool. And I really appreciate you sharing that your love languages are, affirmative words there, because guys, if you ever compliment Eric on his beard, you'll just see his face light up.
So true. So true.
9 years in the making. Yeah, 9.
Yeah. Mate, this is me 9 years in the making as well.
Neither of you have ever bought a razor in your life, eh?
Yeah. For very polar opposite reasons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I forgot to tell everyone here. Like, so I got 2 boys. Kai is 9 and Leo is about to turn 8. So Kai's like the kid who's just into everything, loves it, and Leo's just like doesn't want to take a photo, right? He just like, hey, here's your present. So he came up and gave me a hug, and that was great. And Kai, Father's Day present win, he got me like this massive box of Maltesers. All right. So we just stood there eating it, having a game, and then he just calls out. I think he was just talking to himself because Maltesers were a hit, weren't they?
Claiming the win.
That's it. So it's not about this. It's just about just seeing them. The boys planned my day for me, and they just had a smile because they were able to, deliver something, and that was kind of like, that's cheesy, but yeah, that was the big win there. So, hey, guys, we're gonna wrap up. So, hey, love to get your feedback. Drop a comment. Below. You're gonna hear us on Spotify. You're gonna hear us on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever the popular podcasts are. If you want us to talk about anything in particular, or you have any questions for us, hit us up in the comments below as well. And just for now, until we get like some sort of email sorted. Hey, Shane and Eric, please let everyone know where they can find you or hit you up with.
Yeah, so the easiest way for me is I'm on Facebook. If you type in Eric Sommerfeld, you will see the name somewhere here and see this guy with the big beard. That's me.
Yeah, very cool. Same thing. Look me up on Facebook, Shane Bird. You can actually jump into my Facebook group. So if you just type in a web browser, thatelitecoachgroup.com, it'll bring up a Facebook group of mine you can join as well. So it's the easiest way to find me there.
Yeah, and you know, I'm on all social media. So if you look up Quang Nguyen, I'll be very hard to find because Nguyen is like the most popular Vietnamese name ever. And Quang is like one of the most popular first names ever as well. So